We knew changes were coming on defense, and we hoped we'd see an energy shift on the sideline, but I'd be lying to you if I said I expected the D to come out that strong and hold Indiana to only 2 touchdowns for the entire game. It's not easy to change the culture in just 2 weeks, but hearing the locker room chant Mickey's name after that solid victory, it's hard to argue that it can't be done. There's still a lot of work to do if this team's going to win 6 games and make it to a bowl, but after seeing all the changes this staff has already made, I'm not saying it won't happen. So today, I'm giving you my thoughts on Wisconsin firing their head coach and what it means for Nebraska. Then we'll get into the 6 things I learned after this win against Indiana. But what's up, guys? I'm Connor Hayden, and this is Paul Chryst. If you're a fan of Nebraska or the Big Ten, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any of the videos I drop. And if you like that energy that Mickey brought to the sideline this weekend, make sure you hit the like button now and help us get to our goal of 1,000. But now, let's get into it.
Yet across midfield. Touchdown, Nebraska! Omar Manning.
Yesterday, news broke that Wisconsin decided to fire their head coach after they got beat down at home by Illinois and Brett Bielema, which is a little extra painful since Bielema was their coach who left for the Arkansas job about 10 years ago. But when I first saw the news, I was pretty damn surprised because Paul Chryst had been at Wisconsin since 2015 and he won 72% of the games he coached. And even more impressive than that, while he was there, they only finished third in the Big Ten West once, and they only lost 1 out of the 7 bowl games they went to. I saw on Twitter that some people tried to compare this to firing Pelini or Frank Solich, and I totally get it since he's coming off a 9-win year. But let's not overreact, because there's probably a reason that Barry Alvarez decided to pull the plug. I mean, come on, he's proven to be a great AD who knows how to build a championship-level football program. So let's talk about Paul Chryst's first 4 seasons versus the last 4. From 2015 to 2018, Wisconsin averaged 10.5 wins a year and finished ranked 3 times. Assuming they would have ended up 6-6 this year and adjusting for the shortened COVID season, from 2019 until today, Wisconsin's only averaging 8 wins a year and they finished ranked in the top 25 once. Now you might say that's just a 2.5 game win difference per year, and that's bound to happen. But here's why that's a problem. In those 10-win years, their average recruiting class was ranked 40th. But in the 8-win era, their average was 12 slots better at 28th. Paul Chryst has more talent than he's ever had, yet he's finding the least amount of success he ever has. And if you watched Wisconsin over the last 2 years, one of their biggest issues has been at quarterback. And like Scott Frost, he's been extremely resistant to change. And like Frost, he's paying for that now. Well, actually, Wisconsin's paying for that now since his buyout's $16.5 million. But the media deal kicks in soon, so they'll have plenty of money to throw at their next head coach. But they might already have him. Jim Leonard's the new interim, and like Mickey, he's a former star player who fans love and probably hope can turn things around. But my guess is that Barry Alvarez and the boosters want to get somebody who's more proven. And that's going to mess with the Nebraska search a little bit because which program do you think a head coach finds more appealing in 2022? I already broke down why Nebraska's a Tier 2 job, but Wisconsin is too, and they're in the same conference, and they play the same schedule. But their last 15 years of proven success might be enough to sway the pick if they're not loyal to either AD. 2 of the hottest names being mentioned for Nebraska now are Dave Aranda and Lance Leipold, and whether you think they're good choices or not, there's a very good chance that Wisconsin makes a move on one of them, because Aranda was a DC in Madison from 2013 to 2015, and with a history of great defensive play, why wouldn't he want to go rebuild that unit? And Leipold's from Wisconsin. He was a grad assistant at Wisconsin, and he coached college football in the state for 14 years. So imagine his high-scoring offense with some of the best linemen in the country. That could be a deadly combo. Again, we're so early in this head coaching search that I don't want to get too worked up over specific names yet, but these are the 2 top jobs in the Big Ten West, and the next coaches for these schools are both expected to compete for Big Ten championships. So, does Wisconsin get option 1A and Nebraska lands 1B, or vice versa? Or are these 2 schools targeting 2 completely different types of coaches? Whatever way you're looking at it, this is a very interesting year in the Big Ten West, and things just got even more complicated with that job opening up. Now I've got an important announcement. Today's an exciting day at Corn Crazed because we've officially locked in our first ever sponsor. And I told you I wouldn't do just any deal because I respect our community too much to just fire off random ads that don't make sense. So we had to find the right partner who loves what we've got going on and wanted to grow with us. So I'm happy to announce that partner is BroThrow. BroThrow is an online sports betting platform that allows you to bet directly against friends or other users on the site in any US state. And yes, that includes California, Texas, Nebraska, any of them. And they gave us our own Corn Crazed community. So if you sign up at brothrow.com/GBR, you'll automatically be added to our group and you can bet on any game against other users on the site without having to make any deposit or pay any fees. And most importantly, you don't pay the VIG since BroThrow isn't a sports book. So this week, I'm moving all my football betting here. So once you're in that group, you'll get live updates of all the bets I take. A few subscribers joined the group this weekend, so I wanted to shout out Zach, who ended up winning $110 on the Jets and the Chiefs to cover. So I'm excited to see what other good picks you guys have because I'm going to have to ride some of them. I'll be giving you my weekly picks on our Friday Night Live, so you can ride with me if you want to, but right now the only way to get accepted onto the site is to sign up through a specific link. So if you want to bet with us and be a part of the group without paying any fees, without having to link a bank account and bet $20 to actually win $20, click the link below in the bio or head to brothrow.com/GBR and you can start making some picks with the rest of us. About a month ago, I sent some hoodies out to George and Malanka in freaking Kuwait, and they finally got there and they sent me the pictures for proof, which I thought was pretty damn cool because now the Corn Crazed merch is officially worldwide. And I know on the site it's all pics of my friends and I wearing it, but it's not just for the guys. Girls can wear it too, and it still looks just as fly. So if you want to get your merch, since Nebraska's still got more games to win, head over to corncrazed.com and make sure you get your size before we sell out. Getting back on track, let's talk about the 6 things we learned about Nebraska and this staff in week 5 because it feels like we're watching a new team to some degree since there's new leadership in so many areas. The first and I'd say most important thing we learned is that these coaches are willing to make changes when needed. We knew going into the game that the depth chart had gotten tweaked a little bit. True freshman Malcolm Hartzog took over at corner for Tommy Hill. The O-line got shuffled around, Kalerovic got moved from nickel to linebacker, and Bill Busch simplified the scheme on defense by running more man coverage. And all of those proved to be good things. The offensive line played better than we've seen all year, and new starter Ethan Piper was the highest graded player for the entire unit. Hartzog only allowed 1 completion all game, but he also scored a touchdown on the punt that got blocked. The defense as a whole only allowed Bazelak to complete 50% of his passes and held IU to 223 yards passing. And they also batted 8 passes away that could have gone for another 100 yards and 2 scores. But these were just the major changes. I saw 2 more that gave me a lot of hope for this team going forward. One of the biggest weapons that this offense has, and I use the word biggest literally, is 235-pound running back Jaquez Yant. He's had some issues getting on the field in the past, and I try to be understanding, but here's the thing. When you've got a back who's that big, who almost certainly won't lose a one-on-one battle with a linebacker, you got to get him in at the goal line. Mickey used him inside the 5 and Yant punched it in for a score, but that's something we as fans have been asking for all year, so I'm happy that Mickey's finally hearing our cry. The other change that ended up being costly, but I still stand behind 100%, was Whipple's decision to bench Casey after he took a 13-yard sack on 3rd and 2. Casey has a great arm, he can run really well, and he's mentally already a professional quarterback, but his one flaw is that he takes sacks instead of throwing it away or scrambling to try and extend the play. These coaches are paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to coach these kids and to make a change when they're not doing what they were coached to do. Whipple, Joseph, and Bush are all proving to be the types of coaches who seek solutions rather than accept the same problems that continue to happen if you enable bad play. The second thing we learned is that Trey Palmer is the answer on offense. Maybe we knew this to some degree since he was already averaging 7 catches a game, but watching him beat a Big Ten defense over and over further confirmed how big of a threat he is every time he's on the field. Against IU, he was open a majority of the time, so the problem isn't his route running or trying to pull away from a DB. The problem is, sometimes Casey isn't finding him until it's too late and the ball has to be underthrown, Or Trey's the third option in the progression, and the DB has time to get back in position, and he's no longer a valid option. Whipple had a 1,700-yard receiver in Jordan Addison last year, and Trey Palmer can be that guy if this offense can shift to work around him. And if Trey isn't going for over 150 yards a game against these suspect Big Ten West defenses, Whipple needs to reevaluate his game plan because he's not utilizing the best weapon he's got on the field. The third thing we learned is that these players haven't given up on the season and they still want to win for this staff. My biggest fear when Frost was let go was how the team would respond going forward because the preseason hype was so heavy that a 1-3 start literally felt like the world was imploding and that Nebraska might not win another game this entire year. If you watched the locker room celebration and heard the way the players talked about their coaches in the presser after the game, you saw how much lighter and how much more fun the energy is under Mickey, and that positive energy carries over to how these guys play on the field. Nebraska won Saturday because they played the most physical game they've played all year, and they played like they wanted to be there. They showed that whatever's being added into practice should have been added in a long time ago. Number 4 is that a pass rush still exists. The strength of this team was supposed to be the pass rush, and until Saturday, they were pretty much non-existent. Ty Robinson, O'Shawn Mathis, and Garrett Nelson were all faces of that front four, and they just haven't done enough to live up to their potential until this weekend. Ty and Garrett both had their best games of the season, combining for 3 sacks, 8 QB pressures, and 4 tackles. O'Shawn Mathis graded out as the second best on the line behind Nelson, and even Caleb Tanner pressured the QB 4 times. Success starts on the line on both sides of the ball, so if this unit can stay consistent, the defense will get back to looking a little more like what we saw last year. And sticking with the D, the 5th thing we learned is that this team can tackle. Tackling's been the biggest issue so far this year, and Mickey's talked about tackling in practice multiple times over the past 3 weeks. Before Indiana, Nebraska was averaging almost 14 misses per game, but on Saturday, they cut that number down to 6. Linebacker Nick Henrich has been the biggest letdown because of how consistent he was last year, but against IU, he didn't miss a single tackle. And another guy who improved here was Marquise Buford Jr., who's been forced into a lot more one-on-one situations than he should have been, but on Saturday, he didn't miss a tackle either. So whatever Bill Busch is teaching is clearly working. And last at number 6, we learned that the special teams isn't dropping off, even though Busch's focus is now at the defense. One question I was asked a lot after Busch had to change job roles was how would it affect the special teams? And after this game, I guess the answer is not very much. 3 of Buschini's 8 punts were downed inside the 20. Bleekrod nailed all 5 of his extra points. Trey Palmer returned 3 punts and had no issues with ball security. And most important of all, the punt team blocked one for a touchdown to swing momentum back to Nebraska's side after they gave up a fumble for a touchdown on offense. Busch is still involved with special teams to some degree, but whatever they were already doing in practice is still clearly being prioritized. These are just 6 things I could think of after one game, but I'm sure as we get deeper into the season, we're going to learn more about this staff and how their coaching style affects the team and their growth. And I guess if there are enough positive results, anything can happen with this coaching search. But I want to know what you think, so let me know in the comments below. What's the most important thing you learned after this win, and will any of these points help Nebraska against Rutgers this week? Was the pass rush just a 1-week fluke, or do you think these guys took a big step forward during the bye week? And how do you think the Wisconsin job opening is going to impact Nebraska's job search? I've got to assume they're going to interview a couple of the same coaches Trev will, so things could get very interesting here in the next couple of months. But that's all I've got for you today, and I'll be back soon with the Rutgers game preview. So thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Go Big Red.